16th of June, about 8:30 in the morning, and this is my take on Mercury opposite and Mercury conjunct Pluto. Normally, Mercury's androgynous, okay? It's got no gender. So normally Mercury's androgynous nature gels well with Pluto's deep, in-depth approach to life, and it gives a really all-round approach to all facets of communication. But when the opposition occurs between these two planets, there's an added degree of intensity around the penetrative qualities of the person's mind. They're like a rabbit. They're like a rabbit in the headlines. They just got big eyes and they look, and they see through everything. There's such a degree of the willingness to go the extra mile to get to the bottom of things. Excellent at keeping secrets. But there's always a motive here. Normally for the good positive, don't get me wrong. This is not a negative aspect. But there's always a motive behind these person's reasons. So if you've got Mercury opposite Pluto, you should make a point of not being seen to try and convert people. It can be that these people with Mercury opposite Pluto, they desperately want others to believe what they believe so that they feel justified in their own beliefs. And actually, the challenge here is to feel justified in your own beliefs without worrying or caring whether other people agree or not, because that gives strength of conviction. These are the people who don't have that. They're not that brilliant at coming forward, except on the rare occasions when they're absolutely certain of what they think, and in which case they then project themselves verbally or mentally in a way that is not overstated but is effective and efficient. And this will bring them a lot of attention, because when they speak, they normally speak in ways that are like, all right, this is the truth. And in such a way that other people can't ignore it. They're so aware of the potential for the dark side to emerge in other people's thoughts, feelings and actions that they're not astonished or appalled when, as everybody else is, when their suspicions are normally proved to be correct. I wouldn't describe Mercury opposite Pluto as psychic, but I would describe it as accurately intuitive at the mental level. They have an uncanny ability to gauge what's going on in other people's minds, or at least it seems like this. They leave no stone unturned. They always get to the bottom of things. It's not so much the words that are effective, but what's going on behind the words, what empowers the words. So this is about transforming one's philosophies and concepts and ideals and urges that from kind of behind the scenes, that this empowers these people into defining their life through communication. So the emphasis switches at times from the superficial into the deep, and then vice versa. There's rarely any middle ground. And there can be a lack of patience with Mercury opposite Pluto, both with oneself and with other and with the world. This can be the like terrier who gets hold of a little facet of information and won't let go of it until they dig deep, and no matter how much they have to dig. Well, they do tend to be a bit more gentle with themselves as they get older. They're not so savage in their search for yes, no, black, white. But there is an element of freneticism, the mentally ruthless, the incessant worrier. But as they age, they become more contemplative, and they understand how the mind works, and how psychological self-empowerment really gives them a much more grounded approach to dealing with the outside world. I wouldn't describe this aspect as tactful or subtle or diplomatic, but it does give sharpness of perception, insight, and a really accurate bullshit filter. If you've got Mercury conjunct Pluto, it's even stronger, because this will bring some type of constant purging of the mind. It'll bring a sense of questioning one's motives and reasons all the time. Why am I doing this? Am I doing this for the right reason? And it doesn't give you a moral conscience or moral compass as such, But it does make you honest with yourself about the reasons why you're doing things or saying things or thinking things. Certainly the house of the zodiac that the Mercury and Pluto conjunction is in is going to be really important in terms of defining your mental priorities in life. This does give an incredibly sharp focus and concentration and a psychological perception and insight into other people that's as strong as it gets. This can manifest to others as phobia, fear of the unknowable, or insecure paranoia when young, under 40. But this can equally turn into a precise, sharp and effective way of measuring the world at any given moment. And it's particularly good at going into those taboo areas that most people don't want to go in because it's like, ooh, I'm not going there, it's dirty, it's dark, it's scary. I might awaken old primal urges inside of myself. Mercury Pluto will go, oh, let's go there. Let's have a look. Let's be detached and impersonal and objective about it. This gives this in-depth questioning of oneself and of others can give incredible concentration and a strong single-mindedness and a desire to leave no stone unturned. And the questioning of one's own sanity periodically does lead to a re-examination of what sanity actually means. These are the people who can't go mad despite their best attempts. It does give a strong degree of sarcasm. And it does give a degree of impatience with other people who don't get the concepts as fast as them. For example, G.W. Bush and Sylvester Stallone have this aspect, as does Garry Kasparov. Self-empowered, but also a bit acerbic. These are the people who, when young, feel very, very alone. But when they do speak, especially when young, it does make a few other people around them feel a bit uncomfortable. It gets under other people's skins when Mercury Pluto says something specific. This can, on the negative side, manifest as vindictiveness or jealousy or spite, whether it be mental or verbal. It's also very good at persuading and influencing people with the power of the argument and the power of the mind. But it's also really good at inspiring, enthusing and stimulating others into delving into their own depths in search of kind of mental peace or self-empowerment. I would describe Mercury conjunct Pluto people as normally quite shrewd, astute, very good at seeing what's going on and not casting judgment or making decisions. Very good at picking up on the unspoken word, the quiet ones who sit back in groups and watch and listen more than act, at least until they're sure of their ground. Mercury conjunct Pluto people, well, there can be a fear of communication, especially if Mercury is retrograde. Scared of saying what they know to be true because they're acutely aware of how much words can hurt. The biggest challenge and perhaps the biggest need of Mercury conjunct Pluto is to be as precise and to the point as possible so that they don't become exhausted by the non-stop chitter-chatter or the verbal diarrhea. And as they get older, they deliberately choose the middle ground to avoid the possibility of seeming overbearing or self-righteous. They make great spokespeople. Eventually, they realise that what they think is some kind of mental breakdown in themselves is actually a type of mental breakthrough. With Mercury conjunct Pluto, cynicism can be a negative virtue. And healthy scepticism is always going to be a reliable option. Okay, that's my take on Mercury Pluto.